I just want to take you from Calcutta, Shantiniketan,
Yeah.
etc. I'll just shout. To a more current kind of debate. You've kind of, you have a footprint in Shantiniketan. You come several times a year. You are deeply connected with Calcutta in India. And when you got into this rather bitter and acerbic controversy last year, in the middle of a very heated kind of political environment here when we were just going to the elections, something that your critics were very disappointed to note was the fact that you still held an Indian passport. You were still queuing up maybe longer on the immigration lines or whatever. So, and you've done a lot of work on identity and violence, and you've explored this very interesting thing about multiple identities. And currently now in India, we're actually at the cusp of, I don't know if the cusp, but we're deep into discussing what identity is about and how we're to see ourselves, and things are being contested. So, tell me about your passport. I mean, why have you held on to it? I mean, people would give their right to migrate in your position. You started teaching in the UK as early as 1972, and you still come back, and there's your passport. Okay, all right. So, tell me about your passport and identity and how you explore it like 40 years on.
It's, I mean, I do believe that we have multiple identity. This is actually among the major ideas that I think I did get from Rabindranath very early. That there isn't a conflict between his thing that we could appreciate Indian culture and yet enjoy Shakespeare and Byron and Tennyson. And there's no conflict in that at all. So in some ways you could say that why can't I hold many passports? Well, first of all, it's not regulationally permitted. So if I were to take any other passport, I'd look at my Indian passport, and that I do not want to do. I think there's some benefits in long queues also, because you get to chat. I'll name one, okay? I was actually, I had to make an unscheduled stop in Bangkok. I think I was going to Tokyo, and I think it turned out the best way. Not that all the airlines seem to have withdrawn out of Calcutta. The only way of doing it is to go some Far Eastern airline to place yourself in either in Bangkok and Singapore. So I arrived, I didn't have a visa, so I was getting something called visa on arrival. Now the American, the British and the French, etc. don't need it, obviously. They don't need it at all. Indians do, since we need visa from everywhere. So I stood in the queue. There was about, I think it lasted a good 3 hours. And I was behind a young woman who was actually belonging to a charity movement in Bombay. This was at the time when the tsunami had hit the Aceh, that area. So I chatted with her about what's going on, what the problem was, why she was going there. And I lived on that for a long, long time. And people would ask me saying, and I said, if you look at the northern Aceh, it isn't quite like the southern Aceh's problem. And they say, how do you know so much about Aceh? I said, well, for that you have to have an Indian passport. and you would certainly learn that from your neighbor. So I think there's, not that I have a problem with metal knees. Standing is not such a pleasant thing. On the other hand, if you can't stand, it's quite a nice way of spending time. But it also gives a sense of belonging, which is quite important, I think, for me, even if I say it myself.